The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to FRC Media News. I'm Keith Tebow. We hope you had a great Christmas holiday. We like to use this last edition of the program each year to take a look back at some of the local stories we covered over the past 12 months. Now, selecting a lead story for our annual review has been fairly obvious the past few years. COVID, a former mayor on trial for corruption, a change in city government. But for 2023, there was no one event that rose to that level. We focused quite a bit this year on the topic of the cost of living in Fall River. With inflation peaking in 2022, the impact appeared to be more intensely felt in the city in 2023, nor more so than when it came to the cost of housing and homelessness. Just this month, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reported that homelessness across the United States rose 12% over 2022, its highest level since 2007. HUD based its findings on what is called the point-in-time count held early in the year. Fall River held its count in late January.
Initially, the count was 103, but there was some duplicates, and I think that brought us down to about 98. And then there was 14 that people weren't really forthcoming with information. You know, it was a best guess for 14, so we knew 85 that were willing to give the demographics, the name, you know, talk about how they became homeless so we could try to work with them, but we're hovering around 100. We have regular meetings with all the agencies that could encounter unsheltered people, and you know, we estimate is probably about 150, you know, and but some of those they're able to stay at a friend's, or you know, they'll go to treatment for a little while and then they come out and they don't have anywhere to go.
City officials say they've been aggressive in trying to get the homeless into shelters or treatment. Many times they refuse, with nothing much the city can do. Many of the homeless who do not seek shelter set up encampments across the city at parks and under bridge overpasses. Being outside 24/7 has led to confrontations with local residents and businesses. The owner of Rosaria's Diner on Rodman Street this fall testified before the City Council on the abuse and threats his families and customers faced from those encamped at the Quikasham River Rail Trail.
My sister's been assaulted. My mother has been chased back into her building. I find them on my doorstep. I find them in front of our building. They're aggressive toward normal people. There's other residents here that have joined. It is getting to the point where it's going to be difficult. So I need your help, whether it be an ordinance in the park from dusk till dawn to move them away from there. Anything that you guys can do to help, because at this point, it's at a precipice. I get you guys are trying to help them by sending over Health First to take care of their wounds. Somebody goes there daily to feed them. All that's doing is like a stray cat outside of a door. You keep feeding it, you keep giving them those options, they're not going to go anywhere. I'm not heartless. I understand this, they have a sickness or an illness. But again, I'm a patron that pays taxes like everybody else.
It's not just the homeless who've been struggling. Seniors, veterans, and those with low-paying jobs have had a difficult time paying for housing as options dried up and landlords took advantage of raising rents to meet the demand. The Fall River Housing Authority, which oversees 21 public housing sites citywide for low-income, elderly, disabled, and families, are seeing more applicants and longer wait times to fill available units.
I've never seen it in my 32 years where the inventory dried up and just the non-existent of affordable units. From a kid growing up even to pre-COVID, it was just, yeah, there's always an apartment out there. You can go online, you go and read in the newspaper, you drive by neighborhoods, there's a sign in the window. Anybody could find something. With the real estate boom, the market, it's just non-existent. On our elderly waiting list, we have about 800 applicants. On our mixed population list, which is elderly and disabled, we have about 1,300 roughly. And on our family waiting list, we've got about 3,000 applicants. So to your question of pre-COVID, things were a little more fluid. If an elderly applicant applied, they probably were in the unit in 4 to 6 months. Now it's all of a year or better.
This year, we spoke with organizations offering assistance to pay for rent more in demand than ever. Catholic Social Services runs 2 programs offering to help residents who are homeless or close to being homeless pay for rent. In May of this year, the agency reported that the need outpaced its resources.
We tried to serve minimum 25 families within rapid rehousing and say 50 under homeless prevention. We have not only exceeded our target numbers, but have exceeded funding. Catholic Social Services by, I want to say December, let's say of 2022, we exceeded our fiscal year funding for homeless prevention in rapid rehousing. And we requested additional funding through the Community Development for Emergency Solutions Grant. They graciously provided additional rental assistance for us, and I have since utilized that funding as well. And actually, we've exceeded that funding, and Catholic Social Services has utilized several donation funds to continue to help the community through the end of the fiscal year of June 2023.
Community organizations across the city continue to step up to help residents make ends meet. Citizens for Citizens serves hundreds of residents across the region, help pay for heat and utilities each year.
I think a lot of people count on this. What some people may not realize is we're paying for their heating bill, but when we do that, we free up money for them to help in other areas in their life. Especially with, everybody knows it's no secret, the cost of goods right now is just insane. You see an elderly couple that's just living on retirement money. That can be difficult at times. So, if we can pay $600-700 on their heating source, that frees them up for either medication or groceries or whatever else they need.
The United Way of Greater Fall River remains committed to funding organizations that help the community meet its basic needs.
So we try to spread our ability to help support the community in achieving and making sure that their basic needs are met so that they can, deal with, daily life challenges and make sure that they're able to focus on their health and well-being, and that they're able, to focus on their education or pursuing, their journey in that way. So it's really important for us to make sure that we're funding programs that help support these basic needs organizations.
United Neighbors of Fall River this year opened up its home store in the Merrill Building on Robeson Street as a way to offer home goods to those who have had to relinquish their furnishings due to housing insecurity.
When you're very short on money and you have to decide, are you going to pay for the rental storage of your items or are you going to pay for food for your children, you make some decisions that perhaps will not pay for that storage rental. And in the end, most families that have things in storage for long periods of time and are homeless lose everything. So to start building that up again is unbelievable. We ask 2 things. What's your first name? And how many people will benefit from this donation? You have to bring your own boxes and bags. We have some, but we do run out. And those are the only requirements. We don't care where you live. We don't care what papers you have. We don't care how old you are. We don't care what your income level is. If you need stuff from the home store, you come and get stuff from the home store. We're happy to help you.
The City of Fall River used grant money this summer to help get homeless individuals back to work. It initiated a pilot project with the Tomeo Day Drop-In Center on Bay Street to hire a small number of homeless individuals on a part-time basis to pick up litter across the city and receive skills training to get them back on their feet.
What's nice is they're able to come in, get breakfast, go out and work. When they come back, it's lunchtime. So that actually works out well. Then they can take a shower. So I feel like they feel like, well, I've just put in like a real day, you know, at work. And I think it just helps with their worth and their self-esteem and just kind of restoring some of the things that have been taken away through their circumstances.
And just this past month, the city allocated $250,000 to help veterans pay their bills.
More people who wouldn't have asked for help in the past, who did everything they were supposed to do. They're living on pension, maybe a little bit of Social Security. These things are impactful for them. Young families have needed help with groceries. We have older veterans on fixed income who've needed, you know, every year your rent goes up, and if your income is fixed, you can't deal with that middle portion that's now due, and they worry about that stuff, you know. So I've had some elderly folks say, I can't pay the extra money on my rent. Well, I can. We can help them.
In 2024, SERTA will help city residents who ride the bus by providing free service through June 30th, with a look at making free public transportation for all permanent.
I think that pilots like this really help us build that case. But ultimately, what we find is that our riders want a full span of service throughout the day. They want service 7 days a week. They want good frequency so they don't have to wait an hour or so for a bus. And if they have all of that, they're willing to pay a little bit for a fare to support having good quality service. Now, should we reach a point where we have good quality service across the board, and then there's an opportunity to go fare free, we're absolutely supportive of that. You know, we don't want to do anything to take away from our passengers, but we want to make sure that we're there for them when they need us.
So what can be done to make housing more affordable moving forward? In terms of creating new affordable units, the city's Community Development Agency is playing a leading role in identifying vacant property it can convert.
Right now, my office has currently about 520 units in the city that are affordable. We still have the majority of those units. The rents are about $800, $900. Those units don't turn over that much because of the rents. You know, we're adding new units daily. I mean, right now I'm working on 73 Thomas Street, 3 units. I'm working on Pleasant Street, another 13 units, 16 units at another location. So we're trying to add units, affordable units, but what we're adding is not enough for the demand.
State government is trying to do its part by providing incentives to developers to build more housing and offering financial assistance to those in need.
Housing is our greatest challenge. We need to supercharge housing production in the state, and we need more developments like this. And that's why we are grateful that the legislature and our team, we work together to increase the cap on HDIP from $10 million a year to $57 million next year. That's a big deal. That's going to create a bunch of new homes all over this state. We also increased the statewide low-income housing tax credit by 50%, from $40 million to $60 million. That's a tax break that has a proven track record of creating more affordable homes.
Ken Fiola of Bristol County Economic Development Consultant says his office is managing a record number of new housing units that will add to the city's stock and potentially lower rents.
We have on our board right now more than 2,000 potential market rate units coming to fruition. That is a large amount of activity that's going to take place within the city over the next couple of years. Those are construction jobs. Those are jobs that are going to be spread out across the board for purchases of supplies. And collectively, those 2,000 units represent a minimum of $600 million in private investment.
Despite that investment, Mr. Dion from CDA says the government needs to do more.
Our federal government and our state government has to make this problem a priority. And there's since I've been working here, there's always been 10-year plan to end homelessness, and there's been all kinds of plans, and it's not backed up with any kind of funding. And until we received this money through the CARA grant, also through the CARES Act, you can see where you can really make a difference when you have the resources.
We will continue to follow the affordability of living in Fall River as we head into 2024. Building more housing was the focus this year as the city is looking to sell the Bank Street Armory to a local developer who would convert the historic structure into a mix of market rate and affordable housing. The City Council has delayed the sale, trying to seek ways for the city to preserve the structure.
There is incredible nostalgia and history in this building, but because it does appear that the cost of rehabilitating the building would be $10 to $12 million, and because housing is needed, and because any project would work closely with the Historical Commission to make sure that the envelope, the exterior of the building would maintain largely its current personality and historical significance. The position of the city is that the sale is the better way to go.
We have gotten rid of so many things in Fall River that it's our history, and future generations will not have the ability, to go into the Armory. Sure, we're going to make housing. Everybody is, on the edge that we need housing now, which we do, but you can't just be turning everything into housing.
2023 was a local election year in Fall River, and in short, voters made no substantive changes to city government. Mayor Paul Coogan easily earned re-election to a third term, beating back the challenge of former mayor and Bristol County District Attorney Sam Sutter.
We're a blue-collar administrative team. Roads, schools, crime, sidewalks, parks. Those are the things we focus on, and that's where we're going to keep our focus like a laser beam. What can we do to make the city better? Do we have the right people in place to make the city better? And it is a partnership across the city. I know the people in this room are all key. I look around and I see so many people in this room that I'd like to personally thank. I think I walked around and did a lot of it. But there are so many people in here that contribute to making Fall River a better place to live, and they're key components. They are so key. So this term, it will be crime, streets, sidewalks, parks. We're going to do all we can to get our school scores up. We're going to do all we can to make sure we get a full complement of policemen in on board so we can take care of our citizens. And we're going to do whatever we can to fix as many streets, water, sewer as possible. And that's what we're going to be.
That loss in 2015, so I gave you the civic reason, and it's an important one. But that was one that was very difficult to accept because I loved the job, and I was just starting to get the hang of it, and I could feel it. It's like anything else that you do. You're just, in the beginning, you're not sure, and you're learning, and you're colliding with your inexperience, and you're growing. But I felt like by September, October, I was starting to get the hang of it. And I think I could be a great mayor for this city. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll get a chance someday, maybe I won't. Maybe this was the last hurrah, that great movie with Spencer Tracy who wants one more term as mayor. I just want one term. Maybe I won't.
In the race for city council, the 7 incumbents on the November ballot all got re-elected and will be joined by 2 returning members, Cliff Ponte and Paul Hart, who returns after serving on the school committee. All 5 incumbents for school committee will get another term, with former member Tom Corey returning after choosing not to run for re-election 2 years ago. 2 city councilors are leaving service at the end of the year. Leo Pelletier served on the council for 36 years, the city's longest-serving public servant. He made the decision not to run in the spring to deal with medical issues.
I was getting worse day by day. And a Thursday before the operation, I told my wife, that's it. I can't take this. Take my wallet, take my keys, put it on a dresser, and call 911. So the plan is for me to stay, and I'm gonna do it to try to finish the term, and try to finish it standing up and getting it done. That's it. So that's the thing. And what happens, happens. The word is I'm staying, and we're going to take it from meeting to meeting. And with that, I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you.
After 8 years, Councilor Pam LaLiberty dropped from the race for City Council following the preliminary election. You may remember that last year, Councilor LaLiberty was charged with harassing the wife of a former lover in Westport and intimidating witnesses in the police investigation. In May, Ms. LaLiberty admitted to the 2 misdemeanor harassment charges, with all charges slated to be dropped at the end of the year.
She took responsibility for the misdemeanors. Certainly in retrospect, I'm sure she could have and would have made different choices. There was an admission. And as long as she complies with the, essentially just do what she's doing now, then the case will be dismissed.
There were 4 homicides committed in Fall River in 2023, with the latest taking place the Saturday before Christmas on Bank Street. A big focus of the mayoral campaign centered around the level of crime in the city. Police Chief Paul Govin told us when it comes to whether Fall River is a safe place to live, it's important to present accurate data.
Sometimes people start trying to make arguments, and when they're talking about crime, they want to forward a narrative that crime is out of control. So what we try to do is provide everybody with the numbers right from the FBI. This way there's no dispute as to what the numbers are. That's what is in fact reported. We're the 10th largest city in Massachusetts, so we are in fact going to have crime. But at that point, I'm never happy with any increase, and I'm never happy with any area that we can improve on. So that's really what I use it for, is where are we, where are the upticks, and where can we improve? And
for the chief, gunshots fired remains a big area of concern.
We get back to 2013, there was a change in how we actually accounted for shots fired. Because when you go back beyond that, you'll see that there's some years where we actually reported and published that we had 124, 140 one year. So those numbers were really high. I think they were exaggerated, not purposefully, but I think the way that what they were actually accounting for was a little bit too much. So since 2013, we've been reporting the same, and there are years since then where we've had 47, close to 50 shots fired incidents in a given year.
Chief Govin is hopeful that in 2024, more police will be added to the force to increase the complement of officers currently on the streets. For most of the year, the city's waterfront has been an active construction zone as the state works on the reconstruction of Route 79. Most of the roadway was demolished this year, with the boulevard-style roadway slated to be complete in 2026. Fall River's MBTA rail depot is now complete, although the relaunch of rail service to Boston has been delayed until the summer of 2024. The change in the timeline was caused by construction delays and the need for proper signal and track testing. In the meantime, public safety officials held emergency drills this summer, and the excitement around the resumption of train service continues to build.
Overall, I think there's now a greater level of excitement that we're going to have this connection that we haven't had in 60 years, that we're going to have an easier way to get in and out of Greater Boston for all kinds of reasons, whether you want to go to college there, or you want to go for your health care there, or you want to go to the theater there, or you just want to go partway there and not have to drive. I think I'm feeling, well, not everybody's tickled pink about it, I'm feeling overall a greater sense of excitement that this connection is vital, is going to generate and stimulate economic development, and is going to reconnect a region that has always been vibrant, always such an important part of the Commonwealth. But with the only way to get out of here to there is Route 24, it's so frustrating for people. It's nice to have an option.
It was announced by the Diocese of Fall River earlier this year that low enrollment was forcing the closure of Bishop Connolly High School after over 50 years serving Fall River. In its final year, the high school educated a total of only 140 students.
We have a wonderful community, and outstanding staff. And of course, the news was, it was very sad, and it was very difficult for all of us. But the staff, students, families, everyone's come together and really made it the best possible end of year it could be. Learning has continued all the way through, and I would really say that the mood and the atmosphere has been one of community over the past 2 months.
We went through a lot together from freshman year all the way to senior year, especially when we found out the school was closing. We really did come together to kind of make an even stronger family. And now it wasn't even just with us, it was the entire student body. even faculty, staff, administration, we all came together as one, and we stayed by each other, lifted each other up. You feel like an emotion of happiness, like this too shall pass. You feel anger, sadness, this too shall pass. Even in the highs and lows of life, those emotions will pass. So even though like right now, it's like a tough time and that we've lost a lot, this feeling will pass and there's more to come that we can definitely look forward to.
The Bishop Connolly community came together one last time in June for a Mass of Thanksgiving.
Even on the last day of school last Friday, after the students were dismissed, none of them left. I mean, it's almost as though they didn't want it to be over. And about how many high schools, seriously, about how many high schools can you say that's the case? Will we live the motto of this school? The motto over which you passed as you came into this auditorium this evening, to not simply be a hearer of the word, but also a doer. Will this be the end of Catholic high schools in the city of Fall River? You know, believe me, not only as chaplain here, but also as a pastor in this city, the need for it is greater than ever, because the challenges faced by our young adults are greater than ever.
With the story of Bishop Connolly High School now appearing to be closed, the future for Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School remains bright as the institution this fall broke ground on a new facility at its campus on Stonehaven Road.
As we gather here, we are not merely breaking ground, we are breaking barriers. We are breaking through limitations, and most importantly, we are breaking new ground in the pursuit of knowledge and excellence. This new school represents a powerful commitment to the future of our children, our community, and the value we place on education. It is a symbol of our unwavering dedication to providing the best possible learning environment for the young minds who will shape tomorrow. Our students are at the heart and soul of this endeavor. They are the reason we are here today. This school, with its state-of-the-art facilities, dedicated educators, and nurturing atmosphere, will be a place where their dreams and aspirations take root and flourish.
In other Diamond news this year, Brian Bentley was hired as the permanent superintendent director, and Assistant Superintendent Principal Andrew Rebello was nationally recognized for his work supporting student success. Enrollment at Bristol Community College was bolstered this year after the legislature and Governor Maura Healey created the Mass Reconnect program, which allows adults 25 or older with no college degree the opportunity to attend community college for free.
You talk to a student and you'll hear that the impetus for their return to college was one dead-end job after another. They just got so tired of making low wages and not having the ability to move up in the ranks despite a lot of talent and hard work. And so by having the chance to come and earn those degrees and certificates for free is going to be very important in helping them to meet their goals and to have that life that they want with a sustainable wage. And it will really help to stop this cycle of intergenerational wealth that we see as being a real problem in communities like Fall River and New Bedford, where the median family income is just $40,000 a year.
Speaking of Governor Maura Healey, she visited Fall River twice this year. In the spring, she toured the industrial park and praised the city's dedication to local manufacturing and the opportunity for growth.
We're down here because we care. We've been back several times. We'll continue to come back and be present in a bunch of different ways. I think it's it's super exciting what is already happening here, and also the potential. And I think, we both were committed to this because we believed in our entire Commonwealth, particularly outside of Greater Boston. And I think that Fall River represents, the very best of the opportunity that's out there for the state. We're not going to get there unless we work together, public-private. Those of us in government working alongside all of you in industry and having us help be service partners to what you need to do right now.
The governor also visited in November to promote the state's affordable housing programs. Mandated when approved by voters in 2017, a special committee began its work this year to look at changes to Fall River's city charter.
The charter, as it is a little problematic. I would like to see some of the vague areas fixed, I guess, for lack of a better word. You know, I would like to see, you know, some other changes, even if they're possible. It's an important document. You know, I'm a lawyer by trade, so the Constitution and Bill of Rights are the most important documents, right? The Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, another important document. And the Charter of Fall River is an important document. So I'm interested in learning more about it. I think you need to know the history of the Charter to be able to look forward and propose changes.
For those of you just joining us, we'd like to welcome you to a special edition of FRC Media News as we look back at the top community stories of 2023. There was an overwhelming show of support for the city's gay rights community last January as dozens of residents gathered one Saturday morning outside the Fall River Public Library prior to the Fall River Pride Committee's monthly drag story time. Previous readings were disrupted by individuals representing anti-gay and neo-Nazi organizations, spewing anti-Semitic and anti-queer slurs at participants and attendees. Only a handful of protesters were gathered across the street from the library and were drowned out by those rallying in support.
This is not just one event. We are part of that national fabric, this narrative that's going around that's trying to make gay people hate themselves again, to make us feel that we're not normal, or that we're wrong, or that we're not okay, or that we're not valid. And all of that is nonsense. What we are here to do today is spread love. What we're here to do today is show the queer kids in Fall River that we turn out for them. We queer adults, we're queer kids. And that's why kids? Why do the Wiggles work with kids? The whole point of working with kids is so that they can learn that self-love and that they can understand that there is nothing wrong with them as they explore who they are in their authentic bodies with their own sexuality, with their own development in their own times. This is not lewd. We LGBT people, we're not inappropriate. And here with this number, with this crowd, we reject hate.
Bristol County welcomed new Sheriff Paul Heroux in 2023, and he was immediately put to the test as dozens of inmates at the Bristol County House of Correction in Dartmouth staged an uprising in late April.
We wanted to put toilets in cells, locks on doors, new suicide-resistant beds, put the new admits into places, so that some inmates got in their head they wanted to stay right where they were, and it doesn't work like that. These are people who are awaiting trial, and they were also people who were, you know, really they were tough inmates. These were not people who would be in there for like pre-release or anything. We had some people in GB who were awaiting trial for multiple murder charges, a lot of recidivists. It was a tough group to begin with. We showed force by using CS gas and flashbangs, and that disorientated the inmates so that they could enter, the COs and security staff could enter and get past the barricades. And, you know, but once inside, the inmates basically succumbed to, and they got down, they were handcuffed, they were brought out one by one.
This may sound a little hard to believe, but in May of this year, the state and federal government officially ended the COVID-19 health emergency. But public health officials in Fall River and across the state continue to keep a close eye on the disease.
It is still here. Our cases are really low. Our wastewater data looks, really low. So all of that's very positive. But people should still, mask if they feel more comfortable, if they are immunocompromised, or do things that make them feel better, and also just be mindful of staying home when sick. Just as a general rule of thumb, I think that week is a takeaway that we all have from COVID. It's just not worth going to the office or other locations if you have symptoms.
The city of Fall River put on a fresh face this year with a community contest to create a new city logo. The winner, which combined elements of the city's textile history with the Braga Bridge, was created by Tiverton resident Nadine Messier.
Fall River was an industrial city. The mill was the heart of the essence of the industry 100 years ago. And even though the industry is kind of changed, the buildings are still here. And the stories about those buildings and those families are still here. So you can't forget the mills because They're all around us. And I know that the bridge is iconic because it's a connection between Tiverton, Providence, and everywhere else. So to me, both of those symbols together made you know that it was Fall River. Did this in about 3 days, and then I got an email the week later saying, you're one of 6 of the 227 people coming to the mayor's office. And I'm like, what? Oh my God, okay. So yeah, it was pretty exciting. So it was, yeah, I had no idea. It was pretty exciting.
Late this year, the city also launched a redesigned website. We want to take time to look back at 2 individuals who we lost this year. In late summer, FRCmedia producer Richard Urban passed away at his home in the South End. For many years, Mr. Urban produced the Veteran Issues and then the Richard Urban Show here at FRCmedia. At a memorial service in the fall, Mr. Urban was remembered for his work on behalf of veterans and the community at large.
Looking around, you know, a good turnout and other people that I've talked to, you know, in my many failed attempts to get him out of the city, I realized that he actually belonged here. I'm glad that all of these years leading up to the end, that he was able to still be able to get out there and organize events, celebrate certain events leading to the end. I'm glad that he was still active and able to conduct ceremonies of certain monuments that he loved so much.
And just this past Thanksgiving, the city lost a local media and community treasure with the passing of Hector Happy Heck Gauthier, the voice of the South Coast for decades on WSAR Radio.
I still enjoy getting up in the morning. It's nice and easy. I don't, you know, it's a, and then I do the show and I have people. I mean, Carol Valacourt, and before there was Joanne Bentley who spent some time, and before that Dr. Nancy Duncan spent some time in the morning. I went to a St. Michael's festival this past weekend. I met some people there I had never met before. One guy says, I've been listening to you for 50 years. How do you like that? 50 years. And he said, and I said, he said, well, I want to hear the news. I want to hear the weather. I want to hear the sports. I like some of the stuff you do with your weather guy. And I love, I love how you guys approach everything. And so this is a guy who's been around like 50 years.
We remember Richard and Happy Heck and pay homage to all who were lost in 2023. And finally, something you don't normally see in an urban area like Fall River. Back in May, there were sightings of a black bear in the north end of the city. The bear made its way from Taunton and Dighton south to the city, then east to Dartmouth. The bear, or members of its family, continue to pop up in areas of the region. Let's hope the bears are snug in their dens as they hibernate until spring. I want to thank you for joining us for this special edition of FRCmedia News as we look back at the top news stories of 2023. As we head into 2024, we invite you to check out our website, frmedia.org, for all the latest news and local information. FRCmedia News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRCmedia News, I'm Keith Tebow. Happy New Year, and we look forward to seeing you in 2024.